In the forgotten depths of a remote forest, a group of thrill-seekers set up camp, drawn by rumors of the area's dark history. As twilight fell, an unsettling silence enveloped the woods, broken only by the occasional distant, unidentifiable sound. After setting up camp, they gathered around the fire, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. As the darkness deepened, so did their fear. A thick fog rolled in, obscuring their surroundings and turning the familiar into the unknown. The first sign of horror came with a sudden, ear-piercing scream from the woods, jolting them to their feet. Frozen in terror, they listened as the scream was cut short, replaced by a sinister silence. Then, they heard it, a slow, dragging sound, as if something heavy was being pulled across the forest floor. Before they could react, a grotesque, humanoid figure emerged from the fog, its body twisted and covered in what looked like rotting flesh. Its eyes were voids of darkness, and a foul stench of decay surrounded it. In a panic, they scattered into the woods, desperately trying to escape. But the forest seemed to warp around them, paths leading nowhere and the trees closing in. The creature relentlessly pursued them, its movements jerky and unnatural, as if it was not bound by the laws of nature. One by one, the friends were caught. Their screams echoed through the night, each one abruptly silenced. The last of the group, breathless and petrified, stumbled upon a clearing. There, a horrifying scene awaited. The mangled bodies of their friends were grotesquely displayed, as if part of a macabre ritual. The creature appeared once more, its presence overwhelming. In its hands, it held a decaying head, unrecognizably twisted in terror. The realization struck. The head belonged to one of their own. Paralyzed with fear, the final survivor awaited their fate as the creature advanced, its ghastly visage a promise of unspeakable horrors to come. The forest consumed their screams, adding another sinister chapter to its legacy of terror, a nightmare that would linger long after the dawn.
Now the second story.
Deep in the heart of a secluded forest, far from the nearest town, a group of friends embarked on a camping trip, drawn by stories of the forest's haunting beauty and eerie past. As they ventured deeper into the woods, a heavy sense of foreboding settled over them, amplified by the encroaching twilight. They found a clearing and set up camp. As night fell, a thick mist rolled in, enveloping the trees and obscuring the moon. The friends gathered around the campfire, its flickering flames casting ghostly shadows. They tried to laugh and joke, but their laughter sounded hollow against the oppressive silence of the forest. Attempting to lighten the mood, one of them suggested sharing ghost stories. As they exchanged tales, each story seemed to be swallowed by the dense fog, as if the forest itself was listening. A feeling of being watched crept over them, an unseen presence lurking just beyond the firelight. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night, echoing through the trees. It was abruptly cut off, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. The group froze, terror gripping their hearts. A soft, dragging sound followed, growing louder, as if something were moving towards them from the darkness. Panic ensued. Some wanted to flee, others to stay and confront whatever was out there. Before they could decide, a grotesque figure emerged from the mist. Humanoid in shape, but with twisted limbs and a face that was a nightmarish distortion of human features, it moved towards them with an unnatural, jerking motion. The group scattered, disappearing into the fog in different directions, their screams mingling with the sounds of the forest. The creature, with inhuman speed, pursued them, its movements echoing through the trees. One by one, the friends were hunted down. Their cries for help were cut short, only to be replaced by a dreadful silence. The last of the group, breathless and trembling with fear, stumbled upon a ghastly scene in a small clearing. The mutilated bodies of their friends were strewn about, some hanging from trees, others arranged in a sickening display on the ground. The air was thick with the smell of blood and decay. The creature appeared again, its presence more terrifying than ever. In its hands, it held the severed head of one of their friends, its eyes frozen open in a silent scream. The survivor realized with horror that this creature was not just hunting them, it was playing with them, relishing their fear. Paralyzed with dread, they awaited their fate as the creature advanced. Its eyes, black voids of malice, seemed to look right through them into their very soul. The forest absorbed their final screams, the mist weaving a shroud of silence over the scene. As dawn broke, the mist cleared, but the horrors of the night remained hidden in the depths of the forest. The fate of the friends became another whispered tale of the forest, a haunting reminder of the evil that lurks in the shadows of the trees. The forest reclaimed its secrets, its eerie calm belying the nightmare that unfolded within its dark heart.
Now the third story.
In the dense, shadowy woods, a group of friends set up their camp, eager for a night of stories and laughter. As dusk fell, a chilling wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it an unnerving sense of foreboding. The friends gathered around the campfire, its flickering light casting eerie shadows on their faces. One of them, an avid storyteller, began a tale about the Whispering Woods. According to legend, these very woods were haunted by the spirits of lost campers who murmured secrets from the beyond. As the story unfolded, strange noises surrounded their campsite, rustling leaves, snapping twigs, and an almost imperceptible murmuring. The friends laughed it off, attributing it to the wind or woodland creatures. However, as the night deepened, the noises grew more distinct. Suddenly, the fire dimmed, as if suffocated by an unseen force. In the darkness, they heard soft, eerie whispers echoing around them, each word laced with a chilling breathlessness. Panic set in as they realized these whispers were calling out their names, beckoning them deeper into the woods. One friend, driven by curiosity and fear, ventured into the darkness to investigate. The others waited in terrified anticipation. Moments later, a blood-curdling scream shattered the night. The remaining friends fled in terror, not daring to look back at the haunting shadows that seemed to reach out from the trees. They never found their friend, and the police search yielded nothing but unanswered questions. The woods, it seemed, had claimed another soul. The surviving friends were left with the haunting memory of that night, the eerie whispers etched forever in their minds, a grim reminder of the legend of the Whispering Woods.
Now the fourth story.
In the heart of an ancient forest, a group of friends decided to camp, drawn by tales of its haunting beauty. They set up their tents as night began to envelop the woods, shrouding the trees in darkness. As they sat around the campfire, the air grew unnaturally cold, and a dense fog began to rise from the ground, creeping between the trees like tendrils. The group started to feel uneasy, the isolation of the woods suddenly oppressive. One of them suggested telling ghost stories to lighten the mood. As the tales grew more gruesome, a sense of dread settled over the group. They couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched. Just as the tension became unbearable, they heard a slow, rhythmic thumping sound coming from the darkness beyond the firelight. Frightened but curious, two of the friends ventured into the fog to investigate. The thumping grew louder, more urgent. Suddenly, it stopped, replaced by a deathly silence. The rest of the group waited anxiously, but their friends did not return. Panic set in. They called out, but only their echoes answered. As they huddled together, the ground began to tremble subtly, and a low, guttural growl resonated through the air. The trees themselves seemed to bend inward, enclosing them. From the fog emerged a figure, grotesque and barely human, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. It moved with unnatural speed, and as it approached, they saw it was dragging something. The horrifying realization dawned on them. It was one of their friends, lifeless, mutilated beyond recognition. In a frenzied terror, they ran, pursued by the creature and its haunting growls. They could hear it moving through the trees, toying with them, always just a step behind. When morning came, the forest was silent. The campsite was in disarray, the fire long dead. Of the group, there was no sign, only a set of footprints leading deeper into the woods, swallowed up by the fog. The forest reclaimed its secrets, the fate of the friends becoming yet another dark tale whispered about the haunted woods.